Hello, this is Social Service 215, uh, Social Problems and Social Action, Chapter 3, Race and Ethnicity. So defining race and ethnicity in the new millennium. So social scientists study race, ethnicity, and immigration as social problems, documenting systemic patterns of racial and ethnic inequality. Ideologies are the narratives that rationalize and justify positions, especially with groups. Racism is the systems of advantage based on race. Race is a social construction using traits to organize people in hierarchical groups, physical, religious, cultural, socioeconomic, or some combination of traits typically are used. Also, a lived reality. Skin color, hair texture, nose shape, and eye shape also incorporate into racial formulas. Political and economic context relevant to racial classification. Ethnicity refers to the person's cultural heritage. Symbolic ethnicity derives more from heritage of distant relatives. Ethno-racism is when cultural characteristics such as language, clothing, religion acquire racial meaning. How people personally identify racially and ethnically versus how society classifies them are influential. It's a very important concept, so please be sure to read this in your textbook. Racial and ethnic groups. U.S. Bureau of Census is the primary source of data, and there's debate over the term Hispanic, and demographics are changing, especially here in the United States. Immigration patterns. The United States has regarded immigration differently depending on the variety of factors. We had these several different acts, which is the National Origins Act of 1924, 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, and then we also have the Refugee Act. From DREAM Act to Protecting the Nation. So DREAM Act is proposed legislation to prevent deportation of immigrant children raised from childhood in the United States. And then there was the Muslim ban and ensuing rise in hate crimes against Muslims and Latino people. Race and ethnicity beyond our borders. So spike in anti-immigration attitudes since the turn of the 21st century. There's an increase in violence towards immigrant groups encouraged in white nationalist and white supremacist group, a rising nationalist sentiment in Europe and the United States. Income, wealth, and race, tokenistic fallacy. If a few members of a minority have achieved equality, racism no longer exists. This is very important to note, so please be aware of this. Individual versus institutional discrimination. Institutional racism in the criminal justice system. Health by race and ethnicity. The United States belongs to racial minority groups, in the United States belonging to a racial minority group increases likelihood of unemployment, lower income, prison time, and shorter lifespan. Environmental racism of pollution sites near poor minority communities. So we talk about the life expectancy, the infant mortality rate, and lack of health insurance by race and ethnicity. As you can see, there's a huge gap in between, especially when we look at infant mortality rates amongst African Americans, or what they call Black, compared to whites or Hispanics. And then no health care insurance is a huge gap too. And this is of 2017, so please review this. U.S. theory to explain racial inequality. So you have structural functionalism, these various theorists that you need to be aware of: Mr. Robert Park, Milton Gordon, Portson Rumbert, and Herbert J. Gans. So please review these. Conflict theory is society is characterized by imbalance of power and resources. The group in control will maintain to its advantage. So we talk about white privilege and split labor market theory and psychological wage. Symbolic interactional theories. Be aware definitely of Mr. Gordon Albert, Claude Steele, and then the cost of privileges is the loss of interactional benefits of being bicultural and multicultural, and ability to get along with diverse groups. So Gordon's 7 stages of assimilation. You definitely want to be familiar with these: cultural assimilation, structural assimilation, marital assimilation, identification assimilation, attitude receptional assimilation, behavior receptional assimilation, and civic assimilation. So intersectionality is a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw as a way to examine how race converges with other identities like gender and social class in determining how one experiences marginalization. It's an analytical tool. We talk about colorblind racism and Latin Americanization thesis. The colorblind racism is a tendency to focus on anything but race to explain racial inequality. The Mbana Silva provided the abstract liberalism, cultural racism, and naturalization and minimalization. Then anti-racism, an active struggle against racism.